Hello, I'm Tomlin's Nyback. This is 365 Days Towards Racial Change, and we're here talking about black issues. Please forgive me, I just ate some hot wings and they're lingering. I love hot wings. Uh, Talking about black issues in America, how they persist, their dynamics, institutions that may be sustaining and promoting prevailing racist attitudes in America. We look at economics, politics, history. I bring about a lot of my personal experiences and try to scratch at this issue the best that we can. Two big thoughts emerge as I continue this project. First thought is, does the black mind, first thought concerning the mind of America, does the black slave mind still persist? Is it still alive and lingering in American culture? And stick around here long enough, you'll know my attitudes and views on that point. Um, but we just need to tease it out. We can't just drop an answer into the mix without critiquing it properly, dissecting it. And conversely, does the white mind of privilege, power, entitlement, the expectations of white culture in America persist and prevail here in American culture? Second thought has to do with financial literacy. And this is good. I'm seeing much more media and commercials about people, especially black folks, understanding credit, taxes, these financial terms, these terms that should be mastered in grade school, not how to get a job, not be obedient and conditioned to serve someone else. I wish I could, maybe someday take the time to tease out where we got this idea that my life is supposed to be spent making someone else rich. I mean, that's the essence of slavery in America. That's what slavery is all about. That's what we're talking about here. So financial literacy is very important. We saw this idea of enriching others in American slavery through 1500s on up even to recent history, and it still goes on today. I mean, all these commercials about jobs and who's paying this is like the job should be the exception, not the rule. Show me how to enrich myself. Show me how to master and navigate this system. Instead, we've taken Americans have taken each other hostage for the first 13, like major 13 years of life, and conditioned individuals to sit in a group um, and be conditioned in this way. That's not that's not what I was born on the earth to do. I work for a very good employer right now, but that employer is never going to make me a billionaire. Never going to enrich me above its ownership or shareholders. It's a public company, you know. Um, but that's where I want to be. That's where I want to go. Get out the damn way. and then society just has so many encumbrances and pitfalls and traps. I'm finally brushing off alcohol and drugs of decades battling with that, and I'm having enjoying some elbow room and reprieve. Now I get to think, and as I sober up, as the brain comes back online, I see how I've been lied to, used, manipulated, conditioned, cheated. You know, that's what makes this work so important to me. This is a personal. Um, this is my year, so to speak, and I'm really I'm shedding a lot of issues that are burdensome to me. It was other people's lives that I was living. You know, so when I'm presented with lucid arguments about history and what's what's really going on in America concerning issues, because a lot of my difficulties stem from because I'm black, and but I didn't realize how far down the rabbit hole this goes. This project helped me understand that this issue is right at the roots and the seeds of the foundations of this country. This country doesn't exist without slavery. This country does not prosper without an oppressed group. You know, a group that was uh, absolutely uh, manipulated and raped of its identity and served up to serve others. This country doesn't exist for that. You extract slavery, you extract a lot of this, these misfortunes on black folks, and make like a level of equality that the whole world would be different. You know, it's sad. So that's what we're here. We're talking about, and we want to emphasize just in that portion, that little sliver, financial literacy. I'm inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. He helped me become awake to these issues, and he articulates it much better than I. He's studied, he's seen it. He's much older, lived through this country's turbulent 60s and things like that. He gives a lot of great commentary about what's going on, you know, with this. I'll probably repeat this later on, but in the apparent cessation of overt racism, there's a tendency for some people to think that this country's arrived at its equilibrium for all people, for all time, and all that. I think we had some issues uh, with that. I'm going to talk about that complacency, possible complacency among people here in a moment. But that's one of the issues to think about and absorb. Like, you know, now that there's peace, essentially peace, let's even extract any pockets of tension, racial tension between uh, black civilians, white law enforcement, and some of these issues that keep popping up in various areas of the country. Let's extract that and say, since we are um, living and experiencing a certain level of peace, Uh, does that mean that we've solved the racism issue? You know, I'm sorry, but even as I say that, I'm thinking about white supremacist groups. They keep getting their airplay and free publicity on news stations and whatnot. So we'll talk about that a little bit with some complacency. But Dr. Anderson, I've read 3 of his works, and we reference these throughout the year. Um, First book I read was A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. If you only get one resource, get that. Get that. There's others, and he carries on the thought, and he has other things. But I say get that so you get a good cross section of history, economics, politics, and all that to get just the big picture. You know, we got 400 plus years of stuff to talk about. That's only 101 questions that he put together. But I think you want to get that to get you started. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. Behind me, you'll see the hashtag #US2 symbol. To find black women there supporting one another, conversing, having their forum. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, for kind of a black Facebook experience. I hate putting black in the adjectival position, but we got a long way to go. But we're going to lay the foundation and then get into the intricacies down the road. This is the World Wide Web. You should be able to find your voice. If you cannot do what I did, start your own. And here we go. Now, also, we do consistently have story time. We've ramped it up because we've had to take our time through some of the chapters here now that we've got a foundation in slave life, fictional slave life in America, mid-1800s, and also note that it is, while it's a fictional account of slave life, I believe it has um, factual roots in there. Therefore, we can talk about things like meritorious manumission, Dred Scott decision, amendments, slavery codified, hidden in the Constitution, things like that, founding fathers, signers of the Declaration of Independence. All those things can come out as we walk through this fictional. We can talk about how this work informed theater, blackface, relationship between black men, white women, things like that. We get into that as we walk through Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal text there. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about whether the civil rights helped or injured black folks. But today, I'm just going to kind of free form a little bit. I had started that question. If you have the text, we're going to look at question 79 tomorrow. But then as I was writing the introduction, I was watching one of my favorite movies, Remember the Titans. And it stars Denzel Washington, other actors. Some actors will make it big later on after that movie. But he plays a black coach. He's going to a southern town to teach high school football. It's 60s, it's early 70s, the 60s have tumultuous 60s have passed, so they're integrating the schools and all this stuff. And as I'm writing, just some other thoughts kind of came to mind as in thinking of social integration and civil rights. And the early 70s is um, we're still continuing to heal and working on this integration thing. and as I've come through this project, I've noticed something about integration, and Dr. Anderson talks about it in various places too. You notice integration is never, you don't, you're not forcing white kids into uh, black schools, black neighborhoods, challenged spaces. It's the norm when you talk about social integration, civil rights, is black people coming up into the white space, and I don't know. That's problematic because, like, you, we do that. Even in high school, I was bused. I wasn't in a primarily black neighborhood. I just wasn't old enough to make some decisions for my life. My mother made a decision, so I had to take long bus rides into white spaces, and but you never see it the other way around, you know. And I think that's a problem. See, when we do that, we think that, boy, we made it. Okay, we've enforced this rule and whatnot. Listen, the one thing is you can't legislate the heart of man, right? You know, you can put up barriers, walls, and laws about overt behavior, but if in the heart a person is still oriented a certain way, you can't legislate that. You know, you're just telling the person not to act out in public, right? I'm a musician, and when I go to the local guitar store, my heart is a flutter and a flame with all the toys, gadgets, guitars, and I'm just overwhelmed. If I could, I would just grab a big handful and walk out with it if I could. But the law says stealing is wrong, so I can't steal. You know, um, that's to me, that's not a successful legislation if I'm still in stealing mode. You just said I can't overtly steal, but I want those shiny things in that store. What is uh, what's true integration? I like coffee. You like coffee? Now I like my coffee. I don't drink it black often, um, but I like putting stuff in my coffee. Sugar, cream, right? And when I do that, it doesn't separate, right? It doesn't stratify itself. It doesn't uh, the milk doesn't extract itself from the coffee and sugar, and there's not these elements floating freely in my coffee. They're forever mixed together now. And I think that's what America thinks is what happened with civil rights and social integration. America thinks it made a cup of coffee, you know, when that's just so far from the truth, you know. Even with the integration, you know, you, you bus kids into the school. Yeah, maybe they're getting an education, but you're sending them back out. They can't necessarily live in the white communities. I know communities, especially Philadelphia. I don't know how it is now, but I used to live on the East Coast, and there's a space, uh, Philadelphia. Well, you had North Philadelphia. When blacks started moving in there, they had white flight, so they got out of there. So more the well-off, maybe skilled whites live like in Northeast Philadelphia, and there's parts of Northeast Philadelphia blacks cannot move into. Whites want that exclusive space. So this idea of civil rights, social integration, is it real? I mean, we wrote it down, and you know, if I go someplace and I feel um, at a disadvantage and I have enough proof and make enough noise, maybe something will happen, you know. But it's a hard sell. So is America first? You know, we can make judgments about the effectiveness of the movement, but was there did anything change? You know, I see the social rights civil integration, civil rights social integration as more a carafe of oil and vinegar. I liked. I have a tendency to make my own salad dressings. Oil, vinegar, salt, and pepper, very basic. You know, salad dressing, but you got to shake it up. You got to really with vigor to get them mixed together long enough to have it spread evenly over the salad, right? But as soon as you stop the shaking and the agitation, you set it down, and eventually everything just separates to its own space. Takes energy and vigor to integrate the oil and vinegar. Um, they just don't mix like that. You know what I mean? Um, you know, so that's one aspect. Another aspect, getting back to complacency and wondering if there's been any success with civil rights and social integration. I think, with, and for the most part, some things have stayed uh, pretty much par for the course. Our black entertainment uh, just does well. One of our rappers is a billionaire, official billionaire rapper. You know, that's kind of a first. You know, although it would not make a first of the month entry because plenty of people, black and white, have become billionaires before that. Even with the little qualifier of rapper, there's still plenty of billionaires. There's plenty of billionaires of different disciplines rising up. So this rapper wouldn't make my first of the month first, black first. But it's good. And there's other plenty of black folks making a lot of money. You know, par for the course. So does it mean that you know even people in entertainment, sports, media, that they're visible, apparently making it? Does it mean that we've arrived? Is there no need for this project? Is Dr. Anderson's work obsolete? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. We're going to continue. I say some of that because I have to watch out for myself. I'm having this reprieve for a certain time. I have this space that I'm motivated to get back to school, finish my degree. A lot of things I'm more hopeful for. I'm in a more healthy state of mind to be able to receive and make some of this stuff happen. You know, does that mean that there's no uh, that I'm off topic, overkill? I might well, why not let dead dogs lie type things? I don't know. Uh, I mean, even this week, I've not felt um, the racism of America, and I usually feel it a lot. I kind of stay in this space a lot. I'm shielded and stuff, so I'm not out a whole lot because you know people and the public just do stupid stuff a lot. So I'm a little insulated from that right now. But what are we doing? What are we doing? Are we arrived at? You know, those are some things you have to ask for yourself. I see the feedback, and some people are like, slavery's over and stuff like that. Yeah, it's again, like I said, it's off the books. But what about the heart of man? Huh? Do you go to a neighborhood where you see a placard on the lawn that says Black Lives Matter? You know, do you knock on that door and say, Black Lives Matter? I'm staying with you for a week, just like that. You know, that's we. I think we still got some issues to look at way through. We got a little ways to go. You know, we got plenty of stuff written down, and um, white folks can't publicly jam me up, but they could be a little slow on promotion. Talk about black people around the dinner table. All kinds of things going on. There's politicians, you know, might be plotting to keep, you know, what's the next thing? Black people are starting to become financially literate and starting to get and understand uh, the economics of the system, and are beginning to navigate that in greater numbers. Do we need to um, compensate for that? Our white privileged position may be in jeopardy now. It matters on what you believe too about America. Do you believe that this land of the free, home of the brave mantra is accurate? You know, I have issues, because I'm just not self-determined in my life. I'm not doing what I want to do when I want it and stuff like that. We got the appearance of freedom because we live within the system and navigate uh, certain aspects in a certain way successfully. That's the appearance of self-determination and freedom, but not so. I'm not so. I, I'm working. I work still blue collar job, and I wouldn't be doing that on my own. I'd have more money to go to a gym if I want to work out, work that damn hard. Mother and son working at. I've seen mother and daughter at this same job. You know, that's not self determination. You know, that's a frantic struggle to make ends meet, and that's not what just not what I was on this planet for, and it's exacerbated with my black skin. You know, fewer white people, and whites being the majority, struggle this way within the system. So, is there still an issue out there? You ask yourself. You know, or is it is black is racism still a problem in America? You know, uh, how you answer that question is going to determine uh, your motivation, um, how visible you are in the system and in the world. Um, it's going to determine um, how much energy you put into changing your life, or how much energy you put into keeping your life um, oriented in a certain way. All these things, and at least ask yourself the question. Don't leave this earth without asking yourself some hard questions about existence, who's really in control and calling the shots and things like that. You know, your level of education, your motivation to change or to keep things the way they are. Very important, very important. So I just kind of had to let that out because it was coming into kind of what I intended. But it's okay. You know, every once in a while, just kind of breathe, um, and let it all roll out. I hope some of it today made sense. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. It's day 166 out of the way of 365 days towards racial change. I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to be in a Black History Reader question 79. Bye bye.